Welcome to another episode of Unchained with Pierre Wilson. I'm your host, of course, Pierre. Man, I can't believe it's another week, and here I am again with you guys. I'm telling you, when I first started this journey, I committed to it, but I had no idea how much fun I would have. You guys have been great. I see the comments, I see the messages, I see all the things that you guys are doing to support the show, and I appreciate it. I promised you guys I was going to continue to bring on some stellar guests, and we have to keep raising the bar in 2025, right? My first guest of the year, I'm telling you, I cannot be more excited about him. We started working with him within Blexit, and he's been our keynote speaker at what we call our Blexit Night of Faiths, and he just tears down the house every single time. He has videos online that you can go watch. We'll talk about those. We'll actually put some links in the bio so you guys can go check them out. But this man blazes every stage that he goes. I mean, he leaves people stunned afterwards. He is a national speaker, a trailblazer. Please welcome Vince E. Ellison to the show.
Hey, what's going on, man? Good to see you again.
Oh,
hey,
man,
awesome.
It's good to see you. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. How about Trump, man? How about that victory? We were talking about this last year. How about that victory?
I told you, man. I told you. I told Tucker Carlson when I was on his show 2 years ago, I told him the Democrats were done. They were done. And I kept telling people they were done. They had come out there and they had just showed their natural behinds.
And you predicted the shift in the vote, like the Spanish vote, the black vote. You predicted
the black vote. The Democrats stood up on in Manhattan. It stood on top of the Empire State Building, pulled down their pants and showed their natural behinds all of America. Yeah, this is who we are. We believe in castrating little boys and calling them little girls, cutting off the breasts of little girls, calling them little boys, bringing drag queens in public education. We gonna allow migrants, illegals across the border. We gonna take your guns away. We gonna defund the police. We gonna allow snatch and grabs, and we gonna take God out the public square. They went crazy.
Absolutely crazy. You know what's interesting too is that I feel like they're going through a bit of a self-assessment right now, but then you still see people in the Democrat Party that say, oh, we need to go harder. We need to actually push harder on these issues. I'm like, have you not learned your lesson?
Them suckers ain't learned nothing. Man, I was looking at the Washington Post on Saturday, turned to the style section. They had one transgender guy that won a congressional seat in Delaware. Last name is McBride, and she's the only transgender member of Congress. It was a man in a dress, a guy that says he's a girl. And so you got 435 members of Congress, right? 435 members. You got 100 senators. And guess who they had on the cover of the style section? McBride. The transgender highlighting this person and showing everybody this is who we are. And they want everybody to say that this is who we're elevating now in Congress.
Yeah.
This transgender person, this man that says he's a woman, and they are saying this is going to win us the House back. They hadn't learned a thing.
Yeah, and you talked about, I listened to plenty of your speeches too. And one of the things you talked about in one of my favorite speeches, I don't know where you were, but I do know, I think it was Young Americans Liberty, I believe, posted the video and that one. And we actually shared it on the Blexit account too. And one of our most interactive with videos. And you talked about chaos, destruction, the way that the Democrats treat the black community. I mean, it's almost like they intentionally cause this chaos because then they are the ones who come in and pretend to save the day. Can you talk about that a little bit more? Because I think that's important for people to understand. A lot of people watch the show and they say, hey, you know, I'm left leaning, but I'm listening to you because I want to hear what you guys are saying and see if it actually will resonate with me. But I think the way you positioned it was so well. Can you kind of talk about that, the chaos and destruction, the way the Democrat Party targets the black community?
Yeah, you know, Pierre, I started this journey a long time ago in the 90s when I was working in a prison system. I mean, I was born on a cotton plantation, Haywood County, Tennessee. My daddy was a sharecropper, man. I was born in the Jim Crow South. I mean, the South that people read about now, with people without running water, wood heaters, in a cotton plantation and sharecropping, that's where I was born. And that's what my father was doing. But he aspired and he brought us out of poverty by working in the insurance industry. And we started a gospel singing group going around the South singing gospel music. And that's where I learned about the Black church. And I went to college. And after college, I started working in a prison. It was during the 90s with the Clinton and Biden crime bill. And this was a while ago. So a lot of your members, young people might not know about this. But in the 1990s, there was a big crack epidemic in America. And people were dying all over the country. I mean, the big cities were horrible. Washington, D.C., New York. And so America got angry and said that we're going to start locking up these people. And so Bill Clinton and Joe Biden passed a crime bill, $40 billion at that time, to put 100,000 more police on the street and to build prisons, locking people up. I got a job in South Carolina as a correctional officer, locking up these young men. And at the beginning of the 1990s, South Carolina had 3 prisons. By the end of the 90s, they had close to 30. And I saw all these young Black men my age going to jail. And I thought we had overcome. Yeah. And I asked the Black intelligentsia, I said, man, what's going on here? Why are these young men going to jail at such astronomical numbers? And of course, the Black Democrats told me the same story. You know, evil, rich, white Republicans want to lock Black people up. And of course, I was naive and I fell for it. And so I said, well, I'm going to try to put a stop to it. So I resigned my post, started a nonprofit, went to the Black community, and found out something very interesting. Saw no evil, rich, white Republicans nowhere down there. All I saw was a bunch of Black Democrats, and all of them was making money off of the chaos. And there was 3 entities that was making a lot of money, had a lot of power. And I called them the Iron Triangle. I wrote my first book about them. They were the Black preacher, the Black politician, and the Black civil rights worker. And they were conduits between rich white liberals in Manhattan and in Los Angeles. And their job was to make sure that they kept 90% of the Black vote voting for the Democratic Party by hook or by crook. And they did it by keeping the people afraid, poor, ignorant, and inebriated. I mean, these jokers were good at it. They made sure the schools stayed terrible. They made sure that the people stayed poor. They made sure the people kept bad education. They made sure the family were broken up. And that's what they wanted. And they all became kings over the ghettos. And I wrote my first book about it, and it became a #1 bestseller. And they still do it today. It's a variation on a theme. They've been doing it now for 60 years. Wherever they rule, whether it's Detroit, whether it's Chicago, whether it's Memphis, whether it's LA, whether it's New York, whether it's Seattle, whether it's New Orleans, it don't matter. Wherever they rule, poverty, chaos, mayhem, destruction, and they are in absolute control. And this is what they want, and they're going to keep it until we make them stop.
You know, when you look at, I mean, everything you're saying is true. Everything you're saying is true, and that's what got me into this work in so many ways. And I had a moment where I call it the red pill moment. So many people call it a red pill moment, where they have that moment where they realize, man, I actually have conservative values. I believe that the way that the Democrats have run things is not the way forward at all. Right. And it's a very lonely feeling. And I think you and I talked about this too before. When I first kind of realized I was a conservative, I didn't really have anyone to talk to at the time, because everybody that I knew around me, for the most part, they were voting Democrat, right? My family, my friends, everybody who I knew. And not only that, but a lot of people would shame you if you mentioned that you were conservative or Republican. It wasn't just a matter of, hey, I'm voting different than you. It was a matter of they were going to call you names, Coon, Uncle Tom, everything, by the way. Uncle Tom was here at the story, by the way. But Coon, all sorts of different names, and bootlicker, oh, you must be being paid by the white man. I mean, I heard it all. Yeah. And at the time, I wasn't being paid by anybody. I was just a Black boy that just had realized I wasn't in line with the Democrats, right? But for people out there who face that reality, because I know that it's getting better. I can see it. We saw it in the election results. I look on social media, I see more Black conservatives than I've ever seen in my life. I see more people making content, and, that makes me happy. But there are still so many people out there who are saying, hey, Vince, listen, I hear you, but how do I get past, the fact that I might get canceled by my own family or friends? What is your advice to these people who are worried about the backlash if they decide to speak up?
Well, we have to understand how we got here. One of the things I write about in the Iron Triangle and in my other bestsellers, 25 Lies, Crime Inc., and also The End of Tolerance, I talk about the history of Black America. And I talk about the Stockholm Syndrome and why we are the way we are. It was after slavery, and it was after the election of 1776, when the whole South, and understand Black people are voting, and the whole South goes for the Democratic Party. And so the Republican Party comes down and says, wait. They didn't believe that the whole southern part of the United States of America had gone Democrat without shenanigans. And they found out that they were. They found out they had this thing called the Mississippi and the South Carolina Plan. This Mississippi-South Carolina Plan was, and it said, written down, they said that we're going to win the South by going in and scattering and killing all the scalawags. And of course, and scalawags were white people from the North that came down to the South as Republicans. So they was going to kill them or intimidate them. And that they were going to either buy the Black vote or intimidate Black people. But they were going to do enough of that to win the South. And they did. So, but enough Black people voted for the Democratic Party, and Black men not being strong enough and too cowardly to defend themselves, because our Star Spangled Banner ends in this one phrase. Does that Star Spangled Banner still yet wave over the land of the free and the home of the what? Brave. Because in order to be free, you must be what? Brave. You got to be able to pick up your gun and say, man, I ain't going to be your slave no more. I'm not going to depend on another man to keep me free. I keep me free. So Black slaves were Black freedmen were depending on the Union officers to keep them free. And no other man can guarantee your freedom. If you're going to be free, you got to guarantee it yourself. And Black men were not willing to do it. They were thinking the Union troops were going to do it, and that was not the job of the Union troops. It was the job of the free men themselves. They refused to do it. So what happened? The South told them, if you remove the Union troops and end Reconstruction, we'll give you South Carolina, we'll give you Mississippi, and you can have the presidency. And the Union Army said, we've been down here since 1860. Now this is 1876. We've been down here for 16 years. Killing, maiming, money, trying to keep these Black folks free. And they voted for the Democratic Party, the same people that enslaved them. If you want to be with your master, be with it. And they said, you got yourself a deal, and they left. And then the Democratic Party subjugated and beat the Black man into submission. And they told them, we the Democrats, we run the South now. We run it. And if you Negroes even say Republican, we ain't gonna just kill you. We gonna hang you from a tree, we gonna castrate you, and then we gonna gut you in front of your wife and your children, your mom and your daddy. And they did it. And they did it enough around the South where even if a Black person said, if a Black boy said he was Republican, his daddy would whoop his behind. His mama and his daddy would beat his behind in the front yard because white folks would kill you for it. And so in order to survive, being a Republican became a complete pejorative, even to this day. If you say it, your mom and dad don't even know why they're going to jump on your ass. They just do it. Why? Because it's been in our culture. You can't even say it. And you don't even know why. It's traditional now. But it goes all the way back to the election of 1876, when the Democratic Party came out with guns and killed. And I got it listed in my books, how many Black people they killed, what they did to them, how they beat them to death, how they beat their children to death. And they put it and they sealed it in the minds of Black people. To be a Republican is bad. You better not say it. And then the daddies and the mamas started to teach it to their children. And then the grandmamas started to their children. And then they taught it to their children. And even to this day, they do it. And people like me and you, Pierre, got to go out and tell that story so they can understand why it must be broken. It's now a slave mentality. And how do you break it? You break it first by saying how you got here. And then you tell them the truth about where you are. And then you say, this is how you stop it. And it starts with courage. And we got too many Black male cowards out there. And we're going to confront them and call them exactly what you are. I'm going to look you right in your face and I'm going to call you a coward. Yeah. And tell you it's time for you to break this foolishness. Don't even say you're a Republican. Don't even say you're a conservative. If you look at the Christian faith, And that's how I'm like you. I became red pilled by saying, what does my Christian faith say? I profess to be a Christian. I profess to be an heir of Jesus Christ and child of God. And these people telling me to be afraid, and Jesus told me, fear not. They're telling me that I'm oppressed, and I'm saying if I'm an heir of Jesus Christ and I'm a child of God, who can oppress me? God is my Father. They telling me I got to march and sweat and cry and ask the white man when Jesus Christ said, if I've ordained it for you, no man can stop it. So I ain't got to ask your permission for anything. And you walk around talking about white supremacy, white supremacy, white supremacy. And I got supremacy. You talk about that there's a privilege to be white. I say it's a privilege to be black.
Yeah. Yep.
I say it's a privilege to be Asian. It's a privilege to be Jewish. And we're always walking around here trying to compare ourselves to white people, trying to get them to love us. Martin Luther King talking about, I have a dream that one day my 4 little children won't be judged by the color of their skin. What's wrong with the color of my skin? You think I'm going to be sitting here, Vince Everett Ellison, walk by a white racist and say, please, sir, don't judge me by the color of my skin. Dreaming about a day that a white racist is going to not judge me by the color of my skin. Never me. I'm going to tell him, if you don't like the color of my skin, that's your problem. You put your hands on me, you're going to have another one. And my Christian faith tells me that I am never supposed to be concerned about how I'm viewed by man. Only about how I'm viewed by God and how I view myself. My job is to love you. If you hate me, I love you. But that doesn't give you a right to put your hands on me. It ain't nothing in Christianity to say you're supposed to get your behind whipped by nobody. That's a lie. Nonviolence resistance is a lie. If anybody try to come in your house and hurt your wife and your children, you defend them.
You defend them. Mm-hmm.
You defend them. It takes no virtue, Pierre, for somebody to kick your door in the night and come in and try to rape your wife and your children. You said, oh, I'm a Christian man. I can't do nothing. Yeah. No, you defend your wife and your children. Mm-hmm. You defend your property. That's your garden to protect. And we followed this false ideology now. Like I said, my Christianity led me to my conservatism. And conservatism usually lies its head in the Republican Party. And if there's a Republican that's a liberal, I'm not going to support him. I support the person that's closest to my Christian faith. Why? Because God is my ruler.
Yeah, I think
man doesn't free me. My freedom is given to me by God. So that's where it comes from. It comes from my Christianity.
Yeah, that's key. I tell people all the time, ultimately, biblical values is what should guide you. And yes. Liberalism is so far away from biblical values. And it's a difference between values and a party. Because like you just said, the Republican Party wake up tomorrow and decide that they're going to go crazy too. I'm still going to be a conservative. My values won't change. Right. I'm a conservative. That's who I am at my core. You mentioned men. And first of all, I have to say this. Every time I speak to you, I'm like, right now, even in this show, I'm like, I need to just sit back and give you the show, because every time you speak, you are dropping some wisdom, some nuggets, and you're teaching. I mean, and I don't just say this to everybody. I think we've been doing the show. My listeners, I've been doing this for a while now. This man is incredible. If you are not following him, if you are not keeping up with him, I don't know what you are doing. This man will teach you something quick. Every time he talks, I learn something new myself. I'm like, he red pilling me, and I'm already red pilled. I'm over here. I'm over here like, can I do it again? But you are just seriously. And if you don't have his books and all that stuff, we'll drop those links in the chat for you guys to be able to pick up copies of his books and everything. But, Vince, you mentioned something about men in the church. And one of the things I want to talk about both of those things. Let's start with the church, really, because we've obviously been doing the Night of Faith with Blexit. And one of the reasons we started doing that is because we realized that pastors were using the pulpit to actually push a liberal agenda. And, have you seen that happen across the country too? And matter of fact, I know you have, because you've spoken about it. Can you share a little bit more about how that is happening, or why that is happening, I should say, and what can we do about it?
Pierre, is one of the saddest things that I came to the realization of, because it wasn't just like it wasn't told to you. It wasn't told to me. You had to sit there and you had to figure it out, and you say, man, that Negro lying. You say, hold it now. Yep. And you just finally figure it out, and it's hurtful.
Yes.
Because, we were brought up to hold these people in such high esteem, to listen to the pastor. He was a man of God. He was being, he heard from God, and that he had a special dispensation from God. And you sit in the church and you listen to him, and you held this man in such high esteem. And then you come to find out, and of course, again, they don't tell you, they don't make it easy for you to find. Yeah. You have to dig deep. And I went all the way back to the civil rights movement, man. And I started dealing with Martin Luther King Jr., and I started dealing with Black liberation theology. But you get into the fact, and this is where it started getting where I got red pilled with the Black church. When I started seeing the Black church and the Black preacher getting so involved in politics itself and partnering with stone cold sinners, not taking these sinners and saying, look, son, you come to me and you are a communist. You are an atheist. You've admitted that you're involved in certain activities that are against the laws of God. My job is to first convert you. I cannot work with you unless you and I are in agreement here. And so when I saw that the church, and I read that the church had grabbed hold to these Marxist communist ideologies like black liberation theology and social justice. C.S. Lewis said in the Screw Tape Letters back in the 1940s, Screw Tape Letters was a book written by C.S. Lewis during World War II. And it was about this demon by the name of Screw Tape. And he was writing to his, it was about this young demon by the name of Wormwood. And he was writing to his uncle Screw Tape, who was the devil. And he was, and Wormwood was trying to get this Christian on earth to stop being Christian. And he was having a hard time with this Christian. And he would write to Screw Tape and ask Screw Tape, the devil, for advice. How do I get this guy to turn? And so these letters was the devil answering Wormwood's questions about how to get this guy to turn. And in one letter, Screw Tape, the devil, told Wormwood, he said, try to use social justice as a means to an end to get him to turn away from God. He said, because God will not be used as a convenience. He said, people will try to use Christianity as a means to an end, even if that end is social justice. He said, God will not be used as a convenience. You're not going to make him your cosmic butler. Yeah. I need this. I need that. Go get it, which is what social justice is. And the Black church started using it. Even today, they'll talk about social justice, not knowing that it is a tool of the devil to get people to turn from Christianity. And this is where the prosperity gospel comes from, that if you pray to God, he'll give you money. He'll give you a car. He'll give you a house. He'll give you this. And then we started using the church. Now, listen how stupid this is. We have a direct line to Jesus Christ. But we said we're going to use the church to ask government for what we need. Well, man, I thought you had a direct line to God. Oh, well, I do. Well, why are you asking the white man for it? Why are you marching when you got a direct line to God? Moses went to Pharaoh to tell him, you need to get out the way because this train coming through. I don't want you to get run over by it. You need to let your children go. And if you don't, we're going to let them go and we're going to kill everybody. God going to kill everybody in the process, Pharaoh. So you can make it hard to make it easy on yourself, but they're going to be let go. Yeah. That's how people of God deal with government. You don't go asking them for nothing. You go warning government. You go to the president, Mr. President, yeah, you treat my people bad. You need to stop it or some stuff going to come down on you now. Now we're going to get what we're supposed to have. You ain't going to give it to us. God going to give it to us. You're going to try to stop it. When you try to stop it, some bad stuff going to happen to you. I would advise you to step back and just let us get it. You're not going to stop it. Instead, we ask him for it. Yep. And this is why we're still at the bottom of every socioeconomic statistic in America. So I started looking at the church, and I'm saying, it's against that. I thought you dudes had a direct line to God. But we do. Well, why are you asking the government for it? And you see every other people, the Jewish people, direct line to God. How they doing? Great. Mm-hmm. Every other people that have a direct line to God, they're fine. They don't turn to government. Community, God, they do fine. And us, we've allowed the government to come in and just completely saturate our church. The Democratic Party, the black church is not a arm of the Democratic Party. Whatever the Democratic Party tell them to do, they do. They don't pray to God anymore. They pray to the God of government. All they do is march and say, we shall overcome. Overcome what?
Right.
They're gonna be singing it all February. Y'all been singing it for the last 60 years. What you trying to overcome now? Overcome taquations to neighborhood, the dope on the streets, all the abortions that you're having, mm-hmm. the terrible schools. You're no longer oppressed. You're a participant. You're electing the people that are destroying you. You're going to these churches that are destroying you. So I'm like you, Pierre. I went into the black church. I saw it was apostate. I saw that these black preachers were all taking money from the Democratic Party. And I said, you know what? All I can do is ring the bell. There's some good preachers out there, some good black preachers out there. Very few. But there's some good ones out there. And you know some of them too. And to the good ones, we're going to lift them up. But to the bad ones, like our Bible says, we're going to expose the evil deeds of darkness.
Yep. When you speak about the church too, and you speak about the government and what they've been doing, one of the things that comes to mind too, and you touched on this as well, but they've been emasculating our men. And I think that's part of the problem too. And I know you've spoken about that. I want to kind of close a little bit with that, and then we'll wrap. But I want you to touch on that a bit. What have you seen the Democrat Party do particularly to men? Because you remove the man from the home, it's easier for government to enter. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, man, this is something I wrote about in Iron Triangle and in 25 Lies that really blew people's mind. In 1965, Patrick Monahan he became senator from the state of New York, great senator, Democrat. But at this time, he was working for the Labor Department under the LBJ administration. And Patrick Monahan was a very smart guy. He was a Harvard guy. And he was looking at these statistics, and it showed that black men were gainfully employed, but black women were getting on welfare and not getting married and having children out of wedlock. And Monahan said, and he called it the Monahan Scissors, because usually when men get married, gainfully employed, they get married, but women weren't marrying them. And so he looked into this thing. He said, "Oh, I see what's going on. These black women are getting on welfare, and they are not marrying." He said that this is going to destroy the black family. We have to do something to stop this. See, the civil rights movement and the black churches were telling these black women when they got pregnant, don't get married, get on welfare, because that's where all these liberals wanted them. So Monahan went to LBJ and said, look, and the Monahan report says this. He said, told LBJ, we got to find a way to put the black man back in charge of his family. We need to use all federal resources to put the black man back at the head of his family. Now, wasn't that something? But that wasn't a novel concept back in the 1960s, because the man was supposed to be the head of his family back in the 1960s. Okay, but this was before the civil rights movement and all of this feminism and communism and leftism got involved into American society. So they went to LBJ with it, and LBJ was all for it. People try to blame LBJ's Great Society for this. No. LBJ said, good idea. Take it to the civil rights community. Get Martin Luther King Jr. and these guys to sign off on it, okay? So Monahan said, okay, McGeorge Bundy is over the Ford Foundation. He says, the Ford Foundation is paying for a retreat for King and all these civil rights workers. I'll take you down there and you present this information to the civil rights community. Monahan said, good deal, let's do it. They go down, King, Abernathy, Young, and all these civil rights people are there. Monahan goes before the civil rights community, to tell them, y'all, I got good news. We see this trend coming in the black community. We're going to use all our federal resources to put the black man back in the head of his family. McGeorge Bundy said it was a wonder Monahan got out of that room alive. He said they cussed him out, called him everything, said that the family was like slavery. They said using the money to put the black man back in head of the family. No, we want to use the money to put him out. And they went back to LBJ and said, we don't want the black man back in head of the family. We want to use welfare to kick him out. And they put the man in the house clause in welfare. They said that if the man was in the house, the family could get no help. And in one generation, the black community went from having 80% of its children being born with two-parent families to 70% being born out of wedlock. That's a true story. And Martin Luther King Jr. and the civil rights community's fingerprints were all over it. They put it on LBJ, but they forced LBJ to do it. And they started emasculating the black men then. And then after that, they started bringing out all this LGBTQ. And they started setting up the family court system where a woman could take away a man's child and his property just by going in and filing a restraining order with no evidence. Trying to destroy him because they know that if the strong man is in his house, the thief can't shake up the house. You must have to first bind the strong man. That's what Jesus Christ said. They know what they're doing. And the black church is behind it because instead of the church coming up and saying, no, we're fighting against this, they're in there now. A lot of the churches are fighting about LGBTQ. They got these churches now that are marrying men. Got these churches now that are walking up and talking about we should allow gay marriages and all this kind of stuff. We now, right now, Pierre, you can check the statistics. I checked them today. The rate of replacement of black Americans right now, it used to be you have to have 2.1 to be able to replace yourself and stay where you are. Right now it's at 1.8. We are dying. Women are getting abortions. Nobody's getting married. LGBTQ, that was a study, Stanford University, that said that of the black men under the age of 30, 33% say they're heterosexual, 34% said they're LGBTQ, and the rest don't know. So only 33% of the black men under the age of 30 say that they're heterosexual. That means they're willing to have children and start families. That means 67% are not. This is a death cult. And they say full speed ahead. Kill their children, take their property, destroy them as men so they don't know what men are. Send them to the penitentiary where they're raped, and by the time they come out, they got to wear diapers for the rest of their lives. Set up a sick society where you send them to a public educational system that by the time they're 5 or 6 years old, they're telling them to question their gender. God was walking through the garden, didn't know that Satan had walked up to Adam and Eve and told them to eat from the tree of knowledge. And God was walking through the garden looking for Adam, our Bible says. And he called out for Adam and said, Adam, where are you? Adam said, I'm hiding. God said, Adam, why are you hiding? He said, because I'm naked. And God said, who told you you were naked? I didn't. The devil had come into his garden. You got parents now with a child, 13 years old, crying. Baby, why are you crying? Well, I think I'm a boy. I'm a boy, but I think I'm a girl. I think I'm transgender. Who told you you were transgender? No, I didn't. I think that I think that I'm a girl trapped in a boy's body. I think that my gender is fluid. Or I think I'm queer. Who told you you were queer? No, I didn't. Guess who's telling them that? Democrats in the public educational system, liberals on Nickelodeon and Disney. Yep. You're sitting there with your child every day eating dinner. You're sitting there taking them to church. You're sitting there with your child. And these suckers are coming to your garden and told your child they were naked. And you said, who told you you were naked? Who told you you were transgender? Who told you you were gay? Who told you you might not be a Christian? Who told you God might not exist? I didn't tell you this. These no good, slimy, no good Democrats, a party of perverts, liars, psychopaths, and anti-Christian bigots. Yeah. They stink in my nostrils. And all of these gay, soy-back men that align with them, you stay on that side. Mm-hmm. You stay with them. Because all the strong men are coming on our side. We're going to rebuild a generation of men. We don't care what color you are. Yep. If you are a man of God, if you are a Christian and you ready to stand up and you ready to say, yeah. Christian masculinity. Jesus Christ was a man and we stand with him. And we're going to look and act just like him.
Yep. Make men great again. How about
there
that?
You go.
How about that?
Make men great again. and don't fear to say it. Yeah, we're men.
Yeah.
We're supposed to protect. Yeah, we're supposed to protect our family before you do anything. Before you provide for them, you're supposed to love them, and then what? Protect them. Mm-hmm. Then you provide for them. Because without love and protection, what good is your provision? Somebody come in and take everything you got. Be able to love them first, protect them second, provide for them third, and that makes you a man.
Well, Vince, as always, it is absolutely a pleasure having you on, man. I have to bring you back. I think we're not done. I have more questions I need to ask you that I got to get. We got to bring you back. Where can people find
man,
you?
I just want to say this. Meeting you, Renata, and hanging out with Blexit, it was, this is my first year with you guys. It was a pleasure. It was a ball, man. Really. I enjoy you guys. I was so sad I couldn't be with you guys in Arizona. I heard it was a blast. Let's do it. Make sure you guys invite me earlier next year so I can come down there and really celebrate with y'all. I really wanted to be there, but I made, we kind of got things messed up and I got invited a little bit too late and I couldn't make it happen. But I enjoy, yeah, man. Yeah, I enjoy, but really, every time I came to a Blexit event and I saw the people that I saw all the time, it was just joyous. I love y'all. The events are great. I enjoy them all the time. Don't want to leave them whenever I come. I stayed 2 hours afterward. So thank you, man. I'm looking forward to doing a lot of work with you guys this year. We're going to have a whole lot of fun.
Well, we appreciate you, Vince. Thank you.
It's my pleasure, man. And you can find me, go to the Vince Everett Ellison Show, X, Rumble, and YouTube. You're getting my documentary, Will You Go to Hell For Me? You can find all the stuff on my website, VinceSpeaksTruth.com.
Love it. Well, thank you guys. And to everyone out there who has enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe, and we'll drop some links as well for Vince, some of the ones he mentioned in our chat below. So make sure you check it out. And more than anything, follow him. If I've ever told you guys to follow anybody, I definitely mean it this time. Take the time. You're not doing anything else. Take some time. You can take some time and follow this man. It is worth it. Trust me. And until next time, God bless you guys.